Honestly, when it comes to the issues of Black people outside of Africa, specifically in the West, and indeed more specifically in America, it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of videos, a lot of podcasts on different topical issues that might take a while to dissect. But this is talking to Black Americans, and this is what I would say concerning the issue of who is Black or who isn't. First off, the question I will ask is, who is counting the drops of blood, black blood, that makes what is it called now? A drop of black blood that makes a qualified Black person. But then as I was asking that question, I remembered when, I think it's Fox something, one of these TV channels where they did the business of being Black. And Cynthia G was invited with some other, influencers and the likes. And she was asked that question. And I believe the answer she gave was, if both of your parents are fully Black, then you're Black. So in other words, if your parents are not fully Black, you're mixed race. Now, as much as I understand the explanations and all of that go into this conversation, I always like to look at the root cause, because why are we even explaining all of that in the midst of all the issues that we have? Why is that the thing that we are analyzing and discussing and using to block out Black people? And what just occurred to me right now was, when you have accepted yourself, what you are being offered, what you have at the moment, the way it is, you don't intend. And I think that is what happens with those who are, the word gatekeeping the Black community, for better or for worse, mostly for worse. Some are doing it at a large scale, some are doing it as an extreme scale. That is the gatekeeping. Gatekeeping in the sense that, theirs is more, if you're not, both your parents are not Black, you're mixed race. And that is to say, when we're calling on Black, when we're talking about Black issues, when we're talking about anything Black, we're doing anything Black, you're not invited in that conversation. You don't get to identify yourself as that. And so it's like they've identified and they've accepted the identity of being Black as it is given to them, not as they give to themselves, but as it is given to them with everything that comes with being Black in the United States of America. And so because they've accepted it that way, because I realized being Black in the United States is different from being Black in Europe, whichever country there is in Europe. Like the nuances are different. So the one of the US is what I want to talk about right now. And you find that, they're saying, no, you can't come in here. You don't get to your mixed race. They dismiss, contributions or talks of other people based on the fact that they are mixed race. And as much as I understand that sometimes some people say things that are offensive, and counterproductive about the community, I don't think the whether they're less than 100 minus 100% or fully 100% Black, it has anything to do with what they have said. I always prefer, and it helps. We don't need any more confusion. I don't think the Blacks in the US need any more confusion as it is. I had to put on my recorder to say this, because I was watching this guy Lucas. Yeah, I was watching The Amazing Lucas. That's his name on YouTube. I was watching The Amazing Lucas, and it was talking about, what Dr. Omar said about reparations on the Breakfast Club. Now, And that was what I was listening to. And as I was listening to that, it just dropped to my mind, and it was saying that, how when Dr. Omar said that it's not just about giving everybody money each, it's about having organized institutions, credible, legit institutions in which these monies will go into, in which these resources will go into, that will be like the support system for Black people in America now and in the future. So, because if there are no organized systems, established organized systems and institutions in the Black community for these, reparations to go into when it does come, it will just go back to wherever it is it came from, right? And it reminded me of the fact that, what I just said right now, that repeated as what Dr. Omar said, just reminded me of, in Exodus, when God was bringing out the children of Israel from Egypt with a strong hand. They got reparations, well, what the Bible calls restitution. And in the form of, there was this verse that said that night, I believe the night, they were to leave, a night before they were to leave. And the Bible said, and the Israelites spoiled the Egyptians, because everyone went to his Egyptian neighbor to ask for anything, and whatever it is they asked for was given to them, because God enabled them to spoil them. So it wasn't even an issue of looting. They willingly, by the hand of God, willingly gave what they had, whatever it is they requested, whatever the children of Israel requested was given to them. So in essence, they collected the wages of 430 years in one night. Now, that is not even where I'm going exactly. Where I'm going exactly is that they did not receive it at the beginning of their deliverance. It was when they were about to, I believe, like less than 24 hours before they had to move out of Egypt, was when that spoiling happened. And why? I think one of the reasons was, if there were things they bought from the children of Israel, or buy from the children of Israel, if they had stayed there for like maybe 2 or 3 more days, they would have, that money, what they got from the Egyptians, will have returned back to them in the places of trade, where you want to get something from the Egyptians. And what do? It's what they gave you. You collected from them that you used to pay to exchange for what you're getting. So when we now translate that to what Dr. Omar said about having institutions, and that caters to the welfare, the well-being, the continuity, and the prosperity of the Black community, you have that whatever reparations or whatever monies that goes into these institutions circulates within these institutions. It does not go out of it. It does not go out of it, because then if it goes out of it, it defeats the purpose of reparations. Because if the what is given goes back to whoever had given it, that's it. Like, you're back to where you started, right? So, but if you have a place, an institution, and systems where whatever comes in stays in, not just stays in, it grows, it expands, it flourishes, and it prospers, then you can now say that is like an investment, right? Instead of I give you money, buy whatever it is you want to buy, and that money is gone. But when it comes in and is invested in these institutions, in terms of better education, more Afrocentric, if I may, although that's not the word I'm looking for, but a kind of education that makes Black people self-reliant and able to trait within the community is what is supposed to be the way forward for the blacks in the US. Now, at this juncture, what now really brought me here is that Lucas was saying that we had a common enemy. I'm sure he was going farther than that. But he said it was easy way back then because of segregation. There was a common enemy. It was black and white. It was black or white rather. Well, black and white. So it was not mixed. Okay, it was black or white. It's either if you're black, this is what you do, and what being black means had been already defined by those that are not black. So it doesn't matter what you, at that time, it didn't matter what you thought as a black person. If who you call a mixed race person is considered black, that person cannot use the services of that is made for white people. So when the authorities, those who have made themselves the authorities, have decided that this person is black, and you as a black person, another black person is saying they are not black, like it's not their fault. You understand what I'm saying? What you call them does not benefit them in any way. It doesn't give them any sense of belonging. It's like when you're using them to get at the oppressor. But in other words, you're not getting at the oppressors. It's like a transferred aggression. Then it was a common enemy when there was segregation. It was either or. Either you go black or whatever it is they do to those who choose to do otherwise. Right? So they had a common enemy. It wasn't about, oh, I am you're African, not black, you're Dominican, not black, you're colored South African, not black, you're Nigerian, not black, you understand, and all of that. It wasn't that. It was the color of your skin, and if you have one black parent somewhere in your ancestry, you were black. That was it, and it seemed people grudgingly accepted it. There was no choice. But now it seems that the choices have been quote unquote opened up. And so you now have a situation where the infighting is now out there. The infighting is now more pronounced. It has moved from grumbling to flat out, you do not belong with the black people because we said you don't. You're not fully black. So it's like they now see those who are not fully black as traitors. You understand? They see them as traitors. Like if they have a parent, or they had a parent, or they look like the white man, or they look like anything but a black person, they see this person as, somebody coming to steal their opportunities. And I must say that for those who want to keep the black people divided, that was a very clever game, where you can insist, you can now say, well, the racism is not from us, it's from them. They are the ones discriminating against themselves. They are the ones deciding who is black and who isn't. And then you now find a situation where you're there arguing, and the point I'm trying to make here, among other things, majorly, is that those who are arguing this and deciding who is black or not black enough, they're doing that because they have accepted things the way they are. They're not seeing the future of the black community. They're not looking at the future of the black community. They're not seeing advancements. They're not seeing growth. They're not seeing expansion. Because when you're seeing growth and expansion, chances are you wouldn't go and try to boycott somebody who is not doing anything to harm the community. Whereas you have people who have both parents black, they have been fully black for probably 3 or 4 generations, and yet everything they are doing is anti-black. So when you now have those, the question is, how many people are you going to exempt from the black community? There is strength in numbers, especially numbers that are even, not at odds with each other. Ooh, let me say that again. When it comes to the future and indeed the prosperity of the black community in USA, the numbers matter, and not the numbers, and the numbers must not be at odds with one another. The ones that are at odds with one another are the ones that are, fully black, accepted as black, seen as black, but they are anti-black in their orientation and their in their associations. So it would look like the black community would prefer to have their numbers at odds with one another rather than numbers that are even. The even numbers are those that, though they might not look like you, they might not have full black parents like you do, but they are for the growth and the advancement of the black community. They are not trying to sabotage it. They understand what is going on and they want to learn and they want to contribute. As long as somebody is willing and planning to be an asset to the black community, I do not think that is the time to start telling them to start pulling out the "are you fully black" card. No, we need the numbers to be even, not odd. If there has to be the growth that you people seek, well, and that is where I'm going, it's like you don't even think you will go beyond this. And so you feel like the less you have, the less people that are identified as black, the bigger your own share of what being black you will get. I'll be back soon. Hello, I'm back. I paused it and then I replayed after I got to do what that needed to be done. So, as I was saying, it's like those who gatekeep. What is glaring to me in the reasons why there is so much gatekeeping in the black community is that people have more or less accepted things the way they are. They're not trying to challenge the system. They're not trying to change the system. They're not trying to create their own systems. No, what they want to do is the crumbs. They don't even see it as crumbs anymore. They see it as allocations, you understand, that they are being given as black people. And they're telling them, look, we're giving you that resource, those resource, this resource, that resource. And, they now find that those resources are not enough to cater for every qualified black person. So it's like, when it's not even enough for the, quote unquote, foundational black Americans, you can imagine what they're going to do if somebody who is a half mixed race, but he has an Arabian parent or an Asian parent or a Caucasian parent now comes and says they're black. And they now find that these opportunities a lot of times go to the mixed races, those with, who are half blacks, than it goes to those who are full black. And then they get upset about that. And I understand getting upset about that. But I think that how about asking for more resources, right? How about building institutions? How about, not taking crumbs where you guys have to fight one another for those crumbs? How about that? That is something to also look into, because when you see the long term of what the black community could look like, and you're not just looking at what I stand to gain now or what I might lose now if I have more, if there are more black people or half blacks, available for a slot of one. Maybe there is this one slot. For every slot that is left in quote for black people, you have like maybe 10, 20 people qualified, mind you, qualified to be in that post. And so it's like they're now going through an elimination process where they go, oh, you're not fully black, so you don't get to be here. Like, this resource is for black people, and we want to keep it that way. I understand the sentiment, but I think it's kind of point to where you have just accepted things the way they are, and you're not willing, you're not ready to say, you know what, we are many. What do we do? And we're many and we're qualified. So we need to do something to get more and say, well, here is the thing. The ration you are giving us as black people is not enough. We need more. These are our numbers. How do you exactly think that you can give 5 slots, for example, to 5 slots to 50 people or to 100? Are you kidding? And then you now say black people don't want to work. Excuse you. Like, you are not making this fair across board. Like, if we all have to compete based on our qualifications, maybe that would have worked. But then you say this is for black people. And then even that for black people, it's not enough. Like, we are more and we want more and we need more. We are paying tax in this country. And so that tax has to translate to something good to us in our community. But, you know, people would rather fight half blacks. Some black people would rather fight half blacks than fight the system. Let me say that again. It appears that some people would rather fight half blacks than fight against a system that is, you know, making them fight over crumbs. You know how it is that, you know, when you throw crumbs or there are 5 hungry animals, for example, and you throw 2 pieces of meat or 1 piece of meat at them, you see that they're going to fight one another to get the largest bite out of that. And there will be that one person that wants to carry the whole meat off. There will be that one person that wants to carry the whole thing off. And they'll be like, oh, no, we're sharing this. And then you see that there is a growling, there is scratching. So they're busy fighting among themselves. And once they're done, you know, the one who can fight the most, I guess, gets the largest share, you know. And then after they are done, they're exhausted. And they just sit down again, waiting for when their master would throw them food, which will probably be a long time. It's until they are hungry before something is thrown at them again. If you look at that principle, try not to feed into that so much where you're just try not to. See yourself and say, you know what, I'm more than this. And I will not be treated like an animal. I'm not going to be put in a position. I'm not going to allow myself to be in a position where I am fighting. Look, let me tell you something. What you could do, what's the worst that can happen? What you could do is, if you find that the opportunities available for black people is not enough for black people, how about you venture into every other? Who says you have to stick with what is quote unquote given? After all, people insist that there is no racism is in your head and you just want to play the victim. No problem. And well, then go to places where it's only white people that are there and insist that you're an American, you have to be there. So they'll have to explain why you can't be there, which they cannot. So I'm sorry, I think they've shot themselves in the leg when they said there was no racism. It's just in the head. You're just playing victim. Fine. Pack your credentials, dust your credentials properly. Then do your reconnaissance work. Like, find out about the company that you're going to that is basically only, you notice that they don't have diversity there. Well, investigate it, find out things about it, know what they're about, know what their mission statement and all of that and all of that. Get a lawyer if necessary. Go there and say you're applying for a job. Do you understand what I'm saying? And show them your qualifications. First and foremost, they'll be shocked, like, how do you even think to come here? But they won't say it out loud. You know, they'll find something to say and you'll be like, and you are waiting patiently to catch them say something inappropriate and unprofessional. That's what you're waiting for. And then if they try it, you can sue them. That was what is her name did? Monique. That was what Auntie Monique did. When, this entertainment platform, offered her a ridiculous price for someone of her status in the entertainment industry, and they offered her something ridiculous when those who are her mates are earning like times 20 of what they are offering her, like they and they're saying, well, this is what you're gonna get, and she's like, I deserve more than this, and I'm going to, and you can't insult me by what most Black people would do at that point. And that was why there was a lot more outrage against Monique than the company itself. And I'm like, see, this is the thing. You have just accepted that, this is your place. And when you go to a place that is quote unquote not your place, you should do as they ask. You should be grateful for whatever it is they give you, and not make demands. Well, you should make demands. You are a citizen of the United States of America. That's it. You're a citizen and that's it. Every other detail is irrelevant according to the Candace Owens and the, every other person that thinks race is just a myth, and it's just about you not willing to work hard and you blaming your lack of confidence in quote on other people. Well, I mean, Monique recognizes that there is racism, and there is, that thing where they discriminate against women, and that thing where they discriminate against Black women, and that thing where they discriminate against Black women who are big, who are not slim, okay? Who are fleshy, let's put it that way. So she's aware of all of that, but she's like, I'm not going to let you, unless you spell it out specifically, I'm going to fight this on the level of other women are qualified that are like me, are receiving so and so amount. They're receiving in millions, and you're giving me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Really? You can do better. Most Black people will have just left, and that's what most Black people were expecting and Monique to do, that just leave. If you can't accept the offer, which is fine, leave. But no, she sued them. Now imagine if every Black person does that. You get what I mean? Where you match, well, I think she was called. In Aunt Monique's case, I don't think she went to them. I think they called her. I don't think she went to them. But in your case, go there. Go there. And demand your own fair share of the country's resources and the country's opportunities. The skin color, if they don't want you to think about the skin color, well then use that to your advantage. And be like, racism is a myth. So I don't think racism is the issue here, even if you know pretty well that racism is the issue. So what is your problem? If you think that the qualifications here are not okay, what were you looking at when they kept churning out these qualifications? Yeah, this is what we do in this organization. There are guiding rules to how organizations can operate in every state in the United States. So if they are going against that on a general scale of things, you have a case. That is how you rope people with their own words, with their own suppositions. If they have given you so little to work with as a Black community, then spread out. Don't segregate yourself any further, especially when it comes to grabbing opportunities. Don't segregate yourself. If you're qualified to be in a managerial position in an all-white organization, go for it. I'm not saying you're going to get it immediately. I'm saying put up a fight. By the time every Black person begins to go into white-only corporations and be colorblind about it, like you act like you're colorblind, not because you can't see color, not because you don't understand that, they're going to give you the cold shoulder, but because, they're colorblind themselves. I mean, would they come out and say, only Black person here? No, they would not. So that is what you're going to use, unless you're either going to force them to employ you or you're going to force them to admit that they're racist. And since they will never admit that they're racist, and since they will not want to act in a way that will make them look racist, they will be forced to give you a job that you have rightfully earned the right to be there, in terms of your qualification and the terms that you are a citizen. Any other criteria they might have that smells a little of racism, they will be unable to do anything about it. So when you're going for these things, these are the times when you consult with lawyers. This is the time when you consult with Black lawyers mostly and say, this is what I want to do and I need advice. I need help. That was what Aunt Monique did. She just consulted her lawyers and said, you know what? I take exception to being offered this insult. I've been insulted and I want an explanation for why. An explanation that makes sense in the constitution of how you operate business in this country and in your own laws. If your laws in that company contradicts the law of the country that you're operating in, you are illegal. Even if it is your own law. But if it contradicts the country in which you're operating in, you're in soup. You will be shut down. And I'm glad she made so much noise about it until they gave her what is rightfully hers. Now imagine if a lot of Black people did that, where, you don't just sit where you are and say, well, they don't give us enough opportunities. Well, go take those opportunities. Take a leaf from what Auntie Monique did and go do the same thing. Go take opportunities. Look at the companies. Look at the companies. Any company that say, well, you must be, they try to redline you. The red line has been removed. That's what they said. Hold them to that word. You know it is not been removed. But if they want to gaslight you, well then turn that gaslighting back at them, is what I'm saying here. Don't just sit there and just say, well, they will not. Based on what? If they're really ready to admit, though, that redlining still exists, segregation still exists, by all means, let them. So we now begin to know what we're dealing with. Make noise. Be that angry Black woman. Be that aggressive Black man. No, I know normally Black men would not fight in public. You understand what I'm saying? But when a Black man raises his voice, he's seen as aggressive. Well, do so. Get a lawyer. Make what you're doing public. Post it on social media. You understand? Like this, call out the companies, right? if they try to excuse you from getting those opportunities, make a lot of noise on social media. Use TikTok to your advantage, because TikTok seems to be like the platform which people can air this kind of grievances and it goes viral. Like that is like the viral, because from TikTok is what feeds other social media. That's the thing. Like what is happening in TikTok, people don't normally go to TikTok, but whatever is trending on TikTok, and sometimes it might not trend that much on TikTok, but they just pick it up, and then before you know it, they are sharing it across all social media platforms. So make sure that when you want to do something like this, have a TikTok account, and then you give your story of, like, what do you think? This is what happened. This is what I did. So what do you think? And, before you know it, people are doing stitches. They're sharing their experiences, and before you know it, it has gone viral. And by the time it goes viral, the company that is trying to be racist while insisting that they're not will be forced to either give you the opportunity that you have earned the right to have, or they come out and say, well, they lied, that they are actually racist. And I don't think they will do that. So in other words, they will try to, tell you, well, we have company principles. Well, double down and say whatever your country, your organizational principles are, if they contradict the laws of the state and the country in which you are operating in, then you are working against the law. You are being illegal. So work with your lawyer and let that lawyer give you advice, right? Let it be a black lawyer, though, that is not a lawyer who thinks that these things don't exist. Someone that studied law to fight for the rights of black people and all of that, that understands these things and knows the laws that would prevent you from being cheated. So when you make a lot of noise on TikTok and it goes viral and other black people stitch it, and the next thing you know, people begin to say things like, boycott this company, boycott that company, and you be consistent with it, you might not even get that job. That's the thing. But you know what? When we all make noise like that, they'll be forced to do something. It's either they increase whatever whatever. It's either they open up opportunities, create opportunities for black people, or allow black people, because black people are industrious on their own. They can create the opportunities, but they keep standing in the way of black people and destroying the things that they build or buying what they build. And sometimes when people say things like, why will black people own businesses and then sell it to white owned companies and all of that? And, I'm like, are we forgetting that it's an issue of you either sell to us and you get money, or we take it by force, or we burn it. So it's neither yours nor is it ours. If we can't have it, you won't be able to have it either. And then you will lose. Just like they did with Oklahoma, right? Where since they were not getting any kind of profit, they were not getting enough, the kind of profits they want from that. Money was circulating among black people. They hated that. And then they destroyed the Black Wall Street. So when people say, well, why would you sell? Why would you sell? Because it's becoming powerful. It's becoming strong. They're seeing the numbers. They're monitoring black people. And they're saying that, oh my God, this company that is black owned, a lot of black people are buying from it. They're racking in a lot of money and they're gaining a lot of influence. So the next thing you know, it's bought because the owner has been threatened. You either sell to us and get your money and go, maybe start something else if you wish to, or you don't sell it to us and We Oklahoma it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, a lot of black people in that kind of situation will cut their losses and just sell. And they would gain money from that, which is not enough, because by the time you count the amount of work, so they're not even paying them enough, as it were. They're not even paid enough for a company that they built to last for generations. And so you find, and this is how, and branching into something else that I just want to touch on briefly, this is how black owned ideas and innovations suddenly become white. Next thing you know, in the next 10 years, they will say they own that company that made that products for black people. Next thing you know, you hear black people cannot even make things for themselves. Whereas they did. You bought it or you snatched it, was more like it, and called it your own. So the greatest tool against oppression that black people have is their voices. Do not stop talking. Okay? And don't just sit where you are talking. Go into these places. And, I will also highly recommend that if you're going to be doing this kind of thing, you have to be careful. Because some of these people you're going to be confronting are occultists, they are satanists, they are, well, everything that Satanism is about, they are into it. So you want to be careful. But at the same time, you want to prepare yourself. What do you do to prepare yourself? Become an effective prayer warrior and a wise prophet. A wise prophet is someone who can see things before they happen. An effective prayer warrior is somebody that can pray to counter it if it is not in line with the goals that the person wants to achieve. And the only way I think you can do this is to become a friend of God through Jesus Christ. Like, accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That's the only way you can get your rights. I don't see much of anyone getting their rights when they are into, African, what we like to call African spiritualism. Because then, I'm going to talk on that in another video. Because then the major question you want to ask is, you let my ancestors down 400 years ago. Why should I trust you now? You see? Because of what use is a spirituality that does not offer you protection? Do you get? Like, it did not protect your ancestors. So why would you, those who are doing it, maybe it protected them. Have you ever thought of that? Maybe it protected them. That is why they're still doing it. And they're trying to sell it to you and you're accepting it. Are you kidding? It didn't help you. It certainly didn't help your ancestors. So why are you now going there? Why do you want to renew a contract with some set of spirits that don't have your best interests at heart? Assuming they do have hearts, though. Why would you want to do that? How many of these idols that you want to go and worship, how many of them died for you? Huh? How many of them, what did they give up for you? You're the one who is going to give up something. Are these people advertising African spirituality, are they telling you that? You are going to give up something. But in the place of Jesus, Jesus gave up his life, his blood, his throne, his riches, so that you can have life and have it more abundantly, so that you and I, and is whosoever. And that's why some people think that the Bible, some people see Bible as the shackles that held the black people down from revolting. But I see the Bible as the greatest weapon given for liberation, because the Bible is called the sword of the Spirit. But instead, it seems like we saw it as an ornament. What are you going to do? Some people have swords hanging in their houses and they're not using it. They're not using it. You can't blame the sword for that. You either learn how to use it and use it to defend yourself, or you can keep using it as an ornament, which I don't think is appropriate. Yeah? Which I don't think is appropriate. Using it as an ornament, a form of decoration. So go and read the Bible again. You know, at the beginning of this talk, I mentioned something in the Bible where there was reparations. Restitution was made. The people who enslaved the children of Israel for 430 years, they were severely punished. Severely punished. Before they were severely, after they had been severely punished, before, you know, they got, you know, they said, go and ask your neighbor anything that you want. So they got the wages for 400 years worth of work. They got it in one night. Please, if you're going to be worshiping an idol, kindly check their story and their track record. But the problem with this, and I won't recommend, because they won't tell you everything. In fact, they're likely to exaggerate and lie to you. The thing about idol worshiping is that the deeper you go in there, the more you discover. And by the time you discover things that you don't like, it's too late to back out a lot of times. It's too late to back out, because they'll be like, you know our secrets. Now you must be part of us. Christianity, people can backslide. You don't hear much of anybody backsliding. From backsliding, are you kidding? No, you're switching religions and you're being dedicated to it. Otherwise, there'll be trouble. If you study the Bible well, you'll notice that it is a book of restoration, of protection, of redemption, among many other things. So today I encourage you to make God your friend through Jesus Christ. Like God wants to be our friend. The issue is, if we're not practicing holiness the way he wants us to practice it, he keeps his distance. And when God keeps his distance, it's to the disadvantage of the other person. But Jesus Christ came to bridge the gap between God and man, between God and his creation, between God and his image. You're made in God's image. So I think it's best, it makes perfect sense that the one you worship is the person who created you and in whose image you were made. None of these idols created you. So I don't know why this is you worshiping idols is like you paying bullies to not bully you. That's just what it looks like to me. Because the only thing that they have against you is that they are spirits and they are stronger than you. They are more brutal than you. And you feel like if I pacify them, I can enjoy some level of peace and protection. But you have to pay a very high price for that. And when they feel like switching on you, why should they keep their word? If they want to switch on you, they did it with our ancestors. Despite all the sacrifices that they gave, despite everything, of course, some dudes would argue that it was after, people were becoming Christians that they invaded. No, Sai. No. It wasn't after people were becoming Christians that they invaded. They just invaded. although they did it gradually, through trade, not religion. Go and read your history properly. Like in this, when they say that, what year did that happen? Where are the historical facts showing that this is the year that Christianity was, people began to practice Christianity? Now, let's now look at the dates of invasions and the date of conversions. And let's do the math, right? So don't let somebody distort history just to put you in another kind of bondage. When you align yourself with idols, you're putting yourself in bondage. But when you form an alliance with the Most High God, it is a covenant. And you are the ones who is going to reap the most from it. God can do what he needs to do without you. You are the one who needs him. But he does not, he loves you enough to want to be with you, to want to make life easier for you, to want to commune with you and all of that. And so he doesn't mind, being the one that gives you what you need. But there is a small price you have to pay for that, which is not really a price. It's just fulfilling your own side of the deal. I'm telling you, whatever side of the deal you're going to be fulfilling is not as bad. It's not bad. It's actually for your good, really, because it disciplines you. It disciplines you. I don't quite see the discipline you get from someone being told that, for you to have this kind of thing, they have to reduce the number of years you live. Like, isn't that a little too high a price to pay? And so many other things. And you'd be like, where did this come from? But the Bible says, with long life will I satisfy thee and show you my salvation. Only God has salvation. Only the Most High God has salvation. No, if any other spirit is promising you salvation, they are lying to you. That salvation, in quotes, will not last, and you have to trade it for something. You have to trade it for something. You have to pay for it some other way. And sometimes I think that maybe the ancestors that were taken as slaves, their own ancestors had used them as collateral. It's possible. Because, like I said, these spirits ask for a lot of things. And a lot of times you can't back out. If you back out, you'll be the one to bear the brunt of it personally. In other words, the backing out of a deal constitutes death. You can't say, I don't like this deal, I'm not doing it again. No. If you have gone that far, it's either you die to make up for breaking or refusing to go ahead with the deal, or you just go ahead with the deal. And you find people promising their future generations to idols. Now, if a person has promised that, has given their future generations to an idol, lock, stock, and barrel, you realize that those idols are free to do what they like with those children, right? This whole thing is very deep, but if you think about it, you begin to realize that the greatest gift to man is Christianity in the name of Jesus Christ. Some people say, the Bible has been changed, blah, blah, blah. If you have doubts, just pray that God should reveal his word to you. That's all. Once you pray that God should reveal his word to you, you begin to see and hear things. You begin to have a deeper understanding of the word. And that's why no matter how people claim that the Bible has been changed, the word of God is a spirit, is not dead, is alive, is a living word. And so no matter what is changed or might be removed or may not be removed or whatever might have been added or whatsoever, you will just have a revelation of God's word that speaks to your own personal situation. And you see that everybody would read the same verse, the same chapter, and will get inspired solutions and ideas that are specific to what they need, to which individual needs. If that is not God, what else could it be? Huh? So it wouldn't matter what is changed in that word. What matters is, are you connected to the Spirit of God? When you are connected to the Spirit of God through Jesus Christ, whatever it is may have been removed in that Bible. May. I said may loosely. God will reveal it to you. It will just press on your mind. It will just press on your mind. And you will know that it is God that put it there. And next thing you know, God begins to shed his light upon it. And you begin to be enlightened. You begin to feel relieved that finally the solution is here. And now you begin to walk with it. You begin to walk with it. And you now see that things are going on smoothly for you. Well, smoother. Will opposition arise? Oh, definitely. But remember that when you are a child of God and you are a Christian, the Bible says the Lord is with you as a mighty, terrible one. I would like to see someone who fights a mighty, terrible one, that created and built everything. I'll just stop there by saying, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. They that know their God, they shall be strong and they shall do exploit. They who do not know their God, what that means is they will be weak and they will be exploited. So know your God today. And who is your God? Your God is the one who created you in his own image and his own likeness. That is who your God is. Find him how he wants you to find him, not how, who is more legit, the Son of God or some spirits claiming that they have direct link to God. You do the math. Shalom.